Hey everybody. Well, I'm at my parents' place. Um, so that's why everything looks so different. Um, I'm gonna finish out the book of Esther today. I'm really cold. It's really rainy here, and I'm used to it being sunshiny and hot. 'Cause I was way down south in Arizona, and now here I am in northern Missouri, and it's cold compared to where I was. So I'm all wearing a coat and stuff inside because I'm just not used to it being cold. But I'm gonna finish the book of Esther, and then I've got a lot of things I got to get done in life. So I probably won't be on YouTube for a while. If not, I probably won't be on YouTube anymore at all. I didn't even really want to be on YouTube in the first place. The only reason why I really got on YouTube is to watch videos and listen to music. And when I started watching Robin and Matthew, Robin wanted me to make videos to prove myself, and it really didn't do any good. So I feel like God's telling me that my purpose on YouTube is done. My purpose on YouTube is done. Okay? And that's just how I feel about it. So, be it as it may, this might be my last lesson on YouTube. And I do love each and every one of you. Yes, you too, Robin. And I'm just tired of the drama. To be honest, I'm just tired of the drama. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I didn't even want to be on YouTube. And this is why I didn't want to be on YouTube. I don't care for the drama, Robin. I really don't. I don't care for it. And I'm getting tired of your shit, Robin. You're like 41, 42 years old, and you treat people like shit. It's amazing to me that you have 15,000 followers. That's all I gotta say about it. Okay, so I am in Esther chapter 8. I'm going to finish it up. I'm going to go ahead and do all three of these. This is my dad's Bible. So chapter 8. On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, to Esther the queen. And Mordecai came before the king, and Esther had told what he was unto her. And the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai. And Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. And Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman, the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. So it looks like the king gave Mordecai the ring, that the king's ring, which was a big deal. Everybody knows back in the king and queen days, if you got the king's ring, then you are the king's right-hand man. So, and he also gave Mordecai the house of Haman. So Mordecai now has somewhere to live, and he's got a lot of royalty going on now because he's got the king's ring. So he's going to get a lot of respect now. And Esther and the king are making things right here for Mordecai and the Jews. Verse 4. Then the king held out the golden scepter towards Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king, and said, If it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the king seem right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's provinces. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? Verse 7. Then the king Ahasuerus said to Esther the queen and Mordecai the Jew, Behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him that have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Yet ye also for the Jews, as I liketh you, in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring. For the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is, the month Sivan, on the 23 day thereof. Now to me, this is month 7 on the 23 day thereof. 23. So maybe that's the 23rd day of the 7th month. Or maybe it's the 32nd day of the 7th month. But 23 day, to me, it's the 23rd day. That's just how I'm reading it and how I'm perceiving it. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and to the deputies and rulers of provinces, which are from India unto Ethiopia, and 127 provinces. So all these provinces are getting this new letter that the King Ahasuerus is making, and he's sealed with his ring. I think that's why God uses the seal as a symbolic way of showing that he's the king. You know, he is the king. Jesus is the king. And he's the only one that can make those seals, and he's the only one that can break those seals. Unto every province according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and unto the Jews according to their writings and according to their language. Verse 10. And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by posts on horseback, and riders on mules, camels, and young dromedaries. Verse 11. Wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together, and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and providence that would assault them, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. Upon one day in all the provinces, the King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So the posts that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment, and decree was given at Shushan the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of the fine linen and purple. And the city of Shushan rejoiced and was glad. The Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. And in every province and in every city wheresoever the king's commandment and his decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. And many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. So the king has taken favor upon the Jews now, because the king has figured out Haman, secret agent. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to go there anymore. My brain wants to so bad, because I had so much fun with that yesterday, guys. It was so much fun. I really kind of... It was so much fun. It really was. So, okay. So, my ADD is kicking in. Alright, so back to the Bible story. So, King Ahasuerus is starting to respect the Jews. He sent out all these letters now telling the Jews that if anybody comes against you, then you're an all go to protect yourself and to do what you need to do. And a lot of people turned to being a Jew at this time because they were scared. I mean, at first it was kill all the Jews, and then now it's save all the Jews, and if you come against the Jews, then you're screwed. So now everybody's turning into being a Jew, because they don't want to be scared and they don't want nobody coming after them because, you know, if you're not a Jew now, then you're not favored by the king. So it's kind of flip-flopped on the people because of Haman being a jerk. Okay, chapter 9. Now in the 12th month, that is, the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had rule over them that hated them. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as sought their hurt, and no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all the people. And all the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers of the king helped the Jews, because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces, for this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. So people are starting to kind of be fearful of this Mordecai guy, because the king, he was great in the king's house. The king just praised Mordecai, and the people could see that. They could see what was going on. Thus the Jews smote all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. And in Shushan, in the palace of the Jews, slew and destroyed 500 men, and Parasidatha, and Delphin, and Aspa, and Portha, and Allah. I know I'm not saying those right. Verse 9, and Parshima, and okay, so that's all the people the Jews slew and destroyed, the 500 men of those. Verse 10, then 10 sons of Haman, the sons of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hands. On that day the number of those that were slain in Shushan the palace was brought before the king, and the king said unto Esther the queen, the Jews have slain and destroyed 500 men in Shushan the palace, and the 10 sons of Haman would have done in the rest of the king's provinces. Now what is thy petition, and it shall be granted thee, or what is thy request further, and it shall be done? So the Jews killed a bunch of Haman's guys. Then said Esther, if it please the king, let it be granted to the Jews which are Shushan to do the tomorrow also according unto the day's decree, and let Haman's 10 sons be hanged upon the gallows. And the king commanded it so be done, and the decree was given at Shushan, and they were hanged in Haman's 10 sons. So Haman's 10 sons were hanged at the gallows. For the Jews verse 15, for the Jews that were in Shushan gathered themselves together on the 14th day also of the month Adar, and slew 300 men at Shushan, but on the prey they laid not their hand. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together, and stood for their lives, and had rest from their enemies, and slew of their foes 70 and 5,000, but they laid not their hands on the prey. On the 13th day of the month Adar, and on the 14th day of the same rested they, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day of thereof, and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same day rested, and made it a day of feasting and gladness. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwelt in the unwalled towns made a 14th day of the month Adar a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to another. Verse 20, and Mordecai wrote all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far. 21, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day the same yearly, as the days therein the Jews rested from their enemies, and unto the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from mourning unto good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of seating portions of another the gifts to the poor. So these days the king appointed every year to celebrate the Jews and what they come out of with this Haman guy. I might not finish this. I might have to do another video. I already have 14 minutes, so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to finish in my next video. Sorry, guys. I'll be back on I'll be back in the next video, chapter 9, verse 23. All right?